The Sawyer Hannay Show.
All right, man. Well, Ben, thanks a lot for coming on. Really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy. You said you were just recording. How's things going?
It's going good, man. Staying good and busy down here. Just getting back from Christmas, so just kind of in the rush of it all and playing a bit of catch up from the holidays. But here we are.
Cool. So where are you now? You're in Nashville?
Back home in Nashville. Yep.
Cool. Back home in Nashville.
Yeah, I guess I say that now. I've been here for over 3 years, so kind of getting used to it now. It feels like coming home. It definitely, like, I was out in the East Coast in PEI for Christmas and stuff, and It feels like going home, going out there. But it feels like I'm like back at work and back into like my life routine, just getting back here. So I guess I say I'm heading home on January, whatever day I go, kind of every year. Coming home now.
And there's something to say about getting back into the routine too, man. I know, like, with the holidays, it's nice to kick your feet up for a few days, but I get restless. Like, I was excited to get back to work.
Yeah, same. And especially, like, I feel like it's similar with you. Like, the kind of work we all do is like we're working with so many people. So when everybody's on holidays, it's like, even if you want to work, you can't even work because anybody you try to reach out to, you can't, make anything happen. So
yeah, no, exactly. Did you have a good holiday back home?
I did. Yeah. I actually had a really extended holiday. I was there for like 3 weeks, but something about Nashville, it shuts like right down. Like, I'm talking like December 10th usually, because the thing about Nashville is there's like nobody from here lives in Nashville, or nobody from Nashville lives in Nashville. Everyone's from away. So everybody gets in like holiday mode. So it's funny how that works, because everybody just like wants to go home for the Christmas and everyone leaves, and then rights start being canceled. And it's just like, it's a typical, it happens every year around Christmas. So I'm just like, it was really good to get home. So I was like, this year I'll go a little earlier than normal, and went home and chilled for a little bit longer than normal. But now I'm just ready to, now I'm back and just kind of in the grind. So
cool. Yeah, no, that's interesting about Nashville. I didn't know that. How about the summer? Like, I know it gets crazy hot there. Is Nashville a good spot to be in the summer, or do you kind of try to avoid it that time of year?
Man, it's like, I literally think it's like too hot here in the summer personally. And that, like, but it's still busy, and it's like, it's busy season here. So like, all like downtown stuff's always bumping here in the summertime. But, it's like a lot of like writers and stuff are out touring or playing shows. Like, a lot of artists, that's when we're the busiest, right? So like last summer I spent 1 week in Nashville, like,
really?
Just because I'm always like, it doesn't make sense if I'm playing in PEI and then I'm playing New Brunswick the next weekend. I'm like, it doesn't make sense to fly back to Nashville for 3 days, or from in Alberta or in BC the next weekend. So it just worked out the summer. I literally spent 9 days, I think, in total in Nashville in July and August. But it does get pretty busy, but it's like extremely hot. So if you don't got a boat, it kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there one June, my first trip, and it was a heat wave. And what I found, like, different than the East Coast is there's no relief unless you're close to a pool, or, like you said, have a boat or something. You don't get relief. You're just roaming a city, sweating to death. And even at night, it gets like, it can be 1 a.m. and it's still scorching hot, where I find back home, at least, you're close to the ocean, close to a river. You can go for a swim and cool off.
Yeah, it seems to cool off a lot easier out east. But yeah, here it's just like dead heat. I mean, a lot of people, like, when I talk to people from back home, they don't even realize like how close to Florida we are. Like, it's only like a few hours drive and you're in Florida. Like, sure, Miami's like, 12, 13-hour drive, but like, you're not that far from Florida. Like, we're way in the south here, right? So it's definitely one of my favorite parts about living here, though, being a Canadian, avoiding all the snow every year when I'm down here in the summer or in the winter.
I feel you, man. Like, growing up, obviously snow is a lot of fun when you're a kid, but then when you become an adult, it's just a nuisance, and it's cold, literally. And it's miserable. Like, I look forward to spending my winters, in the southern US.
Yeah, it's a nice spot for sure.
Yeah. Plus the travel around, like, I haven't flown from Tennessee anywhere else but New Brunswick, but I'm assuming to travel, it's a lot less expensive too, right? Probably to go from Tennessee to Florida to whatever the West Coast US versus like starting on the East Coast of Canada. I feel like it's the most expensive place to start your travel.
Big time. Like last year, big Maple Leafs guy myself, and they were playing against the Panthers in the playoffs, and my buddies and I, like, it's so cheap to go to any games, even when they're in the playoffs. Like, we got tickets for less than $100 to go see the game, see them playing in the playoffs. And our flights round trip are like $53 round trip. So
That's
like
unreal.
27 bucks each way from Nashville to Florida.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
it's like
crazy.
in those situations, like we'll go for a day. Why not? It's like cheaper than getting a hotel. We just dip out, stay
Yep.
one night, and fly back the next day. You know,
So what do you think of the big Nylander signing this week?
I was pretty amped. Yeah,
You're
definitely
pumped for that?
excited.
You don't think
Yeah,
that you think that's a good thing?
I think it's a good thing because the salary cap's going up. I think sign him now in a couple of years, the cap's going to be so high. Like it's going up like 7 million this year. So it's like if they can sign all their guys long term now, they'll end up like the Avs and those guys that had like McKinnon and those guys in such good deals early
Right.
on, in my opinion. Right. So just the amount it's projected to go up, and it's going to have to because their cap is so much lower than all other pro sports. So it's like they got to put it up. So I think it's good. I like as long as he came for term, I'm stoked.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's having a killer year, and I laugh with my buddy, who's a big sports guy, not a big Leafs fan, but it's like contract year. Of course, you're gonna
Literally.
fucking just perform, and I
course.
find it hilarious because I'm not the one writing the checks, so I find it hilarious when it's a contract year and a player just has a completely breakout season like Nylander's having, earns the money, signs the ticket. You know,
Yeah, we'll
I
see
know
what
it
he
puts him
does.
in a bit of a cap crunch, but it is what it is. That's what he's worth. Like for the production he's giving, that's what you pay. That's the going rate. He would have got that on the free market, you know?
Yeah, and I think like as a Leafs fan, next year may hurt a bit, but I think the year after will be great. Like just got like one more big year, that $11 million Tavares contract.
Yeah.
And then the next year, it's like he's gonna be a team friend. He'll probably sign for 5 or 6 mil. And then by then the cap's gonna be up like 15 or 16 mil. So we're gonna be next year maybe a little bit of a bump, but this year is gonna be a good year, good run. Maybe be a little weaker next year, but then the year after that, it's gonna be like the boys are loaded up.
Yeah. Like everyone's talking about the JT contract, and it's like, first of all, he's the captain, so it's a really hard buyout because he's a local boy, captain of the team. You know, Toronto being such a big media city, like it'd be really hard to just buy him out and kind of screw him over, I guess, in the short term. So I think the play is you just wait out his contract, you sign him to something more worth to his worth, you know. But I remember when we signed him, we got him for nothing, remember? And that was before Matthews was developed. That was before Marner. That was before Nylander. And we hadn't had a superstar in Toronto because I'm a Toronto fan too, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
We hadn't had a big superstar. So when we signed him to that big deal, everyone was so happy. And now on the tail end of the contract, which is always the case, people are complaining about his contract. It's hard to have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah, it was well worth it early on, right? But now it's like, yeah, there's just one more year of it, in my opinion. Like it's like they may have to fill those, bottom 6 with some really cheap guys next year. But then after that, it's like he's gonna take a team friendly contract. So
I think so too.
We may have 1 year hurt next year, but we're set for the next little while, I think.
Yeah. Do you ever get out to the Preds games?
I go to a lot of Preds games. It's another thing about like, and you probably know this from coming here, but like one thing I love about living in Nashville too is being I'm a big hockey guy. Like I listen to second I wake up, Leafs podcast for an hour, like like to a T, like as big as they come when it comes to fans. And so I really love the sport and the league. I watch it like crazy. And like living here, if it's like a Tuesday or a Thursday, especially if it's not like Chicago or New York or one of the big like powerhouse mega teams, you can get like tickets for like 11 to 20 bucks to go see an NHL game. Like that's cheaper than you go see the Charlottetown Islanders back home. Like it's crazy, right? And it's just because they just need those seats filled. So I go to a lot of, I've probably like went to like, if they play 40 home games, I'd say I go to like 15 to 20.
Yeah, that's I feel like it's funny because nobody thinks hockey when they think of Nashville, but it's a hockey city. Like
it is a hockey city, yeah.
Yeah, people love the
arena
Preds there.
Such a good spot to go watch these games, People love them on the weekends. It's so much fun to go watch the games. Like it's just such a good arena. The way that it's so funny though, because it's like such like the South is such about football, but the way like the fan base there, like the second, like for example, like the second that the Preds score on somebody, they'll just like all start yelling the goalie's name and yell like it's all your fault, you suck. And it's so funny. And I remember I was at it was Shelgren's first game actually from Toronto. It was his first game, rookie goaltender in the NHL.
Okay.
He played in Nashville, and I was at that game. And when they scored him for his first game ever, they're all yelling Kallgren because he's spelled with a K, but it's actually said Shelgren.
Okay.
And they're all like, Kallgren, it's all your fault. You suck. And I'm like, oh man, the whole crowd's like yelling his name. It's like,
Yeah.
what a way to start your NHL career.
He's probably thinking, who the hell are they talking about? That's not my name.
Yeah, who's Colgren?
A bunch of Southern accents yelling his name wrong.
Literally.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, it is. That surprised me, the hockey support there. And another thing that surprised me, I went to a U of T game.
I remember when you went to that. Yeah.
Yeah, in November. That was, first of all, crazy. Like
Wild.
have you been to a game there?
No, but I've seen so many people that like stories and stuff. I'm just like, I gotta go to one of those sometimes.
Man, first of all, it's 100 and I think 5,000 people, and it's packed. And we were up. I mean, they played Georgia, mind you, so it was a big game. But we were like in the highest seats, right? And they were still really expensive. So everyone there has spent money to be there. Rowdy, the colors. There's no sporting event in Canada that I can think of that's like that. Like you're on a beautiful campus. Tons of students, everyone's wearing their colors. My uncle, who I went with, is from Georgia. He was wearing Georgia colors. So, like, of course, people were chirping us, and then you have like Peyton Manning was there on the low key. Dolly Parton was there. Megan Maroney was like, just so many people were just casually at the game. And the marching band was like, I don't know, 200 people in this perfectly synchronized marching band, and then you have like 200 cheerleaders that do their thing, and then you have like fighter jets flying over during the national anthem, and just everything. It's just such a spectacle. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it's even like college football is even like bigger than the NFL down here. Like it's like those games have like more people than the NFL games do. It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, well, even the stadium's bigger than the Titan
the
Stadium.
Stadium's even bigger, yeah, because the whole school goes too, right? It's like it's crazy how much like pride. It's like imagine if we had that for even like our like university hockey teams. Like it's funny it's not like that in Canada. Like hockey's so dominant in Canada. It's funny it's not like that. We could probably do like NHL arenas. Come on, people, get your stuff together.
I know, man. Like I played university hockey, and we had like a few hundred fans maximum, like never more than 1,000, unless it's like a playoff game, which we never made the playoffs. But like it's weird. And then major junior, like if say Halifax is having they have a good team this year, like they're probably getting great attendance, right?
Yeah, but they can fill those. Yeah, for sure.
That's major junior versus university, right? Like here at our college sports, I guess we just don't take as much pride in it as the US.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, not as much as like the Q would be like one of the biggest leagues out like in the East Coast for any sports, right? So I'd say that's the biggest draw for any sport out there now.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's impressive.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So big hockey fan. You grew up on the island. How'd you get into music?
I've been playing music like my whole life. Like from PEI, like it wasn't the exact kind of music as you would as I do now, I guess. Like I grew up playing in like Kayleys, you know what that is? Like the stuff I do in PEI. So they're called Kayleys, and it's like for tourists basically in PEI, and you go in this little hall and it'd be like entertainers, and they would tell stories and play like East Coast style music and tell like stories and jokes. So I was like, my family was always into stuff like that. So I was crafted when I was like 3 years old to go up on stage and like make a joke and crack out a George Jones song for the crowd. Like I've been on stage since I was like 3 years old, but I feel like that's always like helped me because like I'm more of like, and people who have seen me play live know this, like I'm more of a performer and entertainer than I'm like just a guy who sings. Like I'm more like my thing when you come see me play live is like the electric, like bringing the show to the people, right? And because I've been doing that, like working on entertaining the crowd and like coming up with cool things to make our show just entertaining in general, our live show. So I started doing that when I was really young, and then eventually I started liking country music. Like I literally like it. My friends down here think it's funny because I'm Canadian and I couldn't even tell you the name of a Drake song. Or like my manager works for The Weeknd and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going out with The Weeknd," and I was like is like The Weeknd, like is he the guy that sings the week? I knew one of his songs. He's like, yeah, and he was showing me all the songs. Like, oh, I know all these. Like I recognize him from TikTok. Yeah. I didn't even know who he was or like that he's Canadian. He's like, how do you not know this guy if you're Canadian? I'm like, I just listen to country music. Right. Like it's funny. It's funny to like So I like, it's funny because now, because I've worked so, so been in the industry for so long, like I work and write with people who I've been fans of before I was even in the industry, which is funny. Or
Mhm.
like guys that when I was in high school, I seen them play Cavendish and now I like write songs with them. And
Right.
when I was like, it's just like a full circle sometimes. But so I started doing that at a really young age, playing like the Kayleys and stuff. And then eventually I was really competitive in wrestling in high school. That was my sport. Traveled all over, and it was like a very individual sport. And I was going to go to university for it, but I just really didn't want to go to university. So I was like, it doesn't make sense to go wrestle if I don't want to go to school for anything.
Yep.
But I always did want to do music. So at the age of 18, right out of high school, basically, I went out to Alberta before I was 19. But I went to college. This is actually a cool story. I went to college for I would say 2 months in the youth care worker program out of high school. And then I really knew like right away, I was like, I just, I'm not built to be in school. I want to be a musician. Like and I always had that like, work ethic of like being a wrestler and solo sport in me. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm going to go out and give it a try. So if I don't, I'll never be fully happy. So, I think I had like I think I know, actually know the exact numbers. My student loan just for that like 1 month was like $5,800, right? So I'm like, oh, whatever. I was like, whatever, I'll pay that off. I'm going to move to Alberta and I'll get a job, working somewhere and then start making connections. Cause like Alberta is kind of like Canada's Tennessee, like Nashville of Canada, right?
Yep.
So I moved out there and I was there like one day, and my roommate at the time he loved going to the casino. And he's like, hey, you want to come to the casino with me? And I was like, man, I
Is
just
this
played
in Calgary?
no, in Edmonton,
Oh,
actually.
in Edmonton. Okay.
And it was I just moved out there. I played one gig. So I was probably there for, I want to say about 6 days. I moved out on Boxing Day. And this is like, I played New Year's Eve, but played bass for somebody in a band because I also play bass. And then it was like, so I think it was New Year's Day. He's like, do you want to come to the casino? And I was like, I just quit college. Like I just made my first $600 on a weekend gig. And I was like,
Double it.
I don't know if I can. So I went with him. I've never been to a casino because I was 18 at the time, and 19 is drinking age, right? Or 19 is gambling age in the East Coast. But I didn't even know you can gamble. I thought you could only gamble at 19 in Alberta too, but you can gamble when you're 18.
Okay.
So I go in. I was like, I'll play with $20. I put it in, dude. I won $5,800, the exact amount of my student
No
loan.
shit.
I was like, tell me that's not a sign that like I'm not supposed to be doing this. So I
Wow.
paid off my student loan, and I've never had to like worry about that. Like, it was the exact amount of money as I owed on
Man.
my student loan. Paid that off, and then I've just been doing music full time since.
That just gave me chills. That
Yeah.
literally just gave me chills. I believe in that. That's like the Jim Carrey story, how he put the $10 million check. Have you heard that story?
No.
He put a $10 million check in his wallet like a few years in advance when he was broke. And then right when the check, because he post-dated the check, and right when the check was about to expire, that's when he got paid for Dumb and Dumber. And it was
Oh,
10 million
wow.
bucks.
Yeah. Stuff like that, right? It was just
Yeah.
like crazy to me because like I never even gambled before. I didn't know what I was doing. It was like jackpot, call a tenant, and I was like Googling on my phone. Like I was like, do I have to call the casino? I was saying like call a tenant. I've never played a casino machine before.
Yeah.
I remember like called my parents because it was like 1 a.m. in Alberta, so like 4 in PEI, but
Right.
like panic when they seen I was calling. So I just moved across the country, calling them at 4 in the morning. I was like,
or 18.
I just won basically $6,000. They're like, what? So they're super stoked for me. And yeah, it's a weird thing, but like every time I look back on it, like especially to like where I am today, it's like that was like my reassurance, like that, like
Yeah.
I'm doing the right thing.
You were,
No.
yeah. You
And I
were,
didn't go blow the money. I paid off my student loan, so it worked out so I could keep doing music.
right. And that, yeah, to me, I mean, that's obviously a sign. That's crazy. And all the like chronic gamblers must have been so pissed. They must have been like,
Oh,
look
yeah.
at, like, they must have dumped, they're dumping their life savings into this machine. They look over at you, put your first 20 in, and you win $6,000. And
Yeah,
like,
the
you're
little old
Googling, like,
lady beside me didn't like it.
yeah,
Yeah.
how much did I win? Did I win? You're calling your parents trying to figure out what just happened. And the people next to you have been waiting all night for that to happen to them.
Yeah, literally. It was just, yeah, it was a weird feeling, but that was right when I first moved to Alberta. Yeah, and then I was out there for that was in 2017 because I moved Boxing Day 2016, so that was like the first of 2017, and then like that was, yeah, I was in Alberta until 2020, the end of 2020, or like March 2020, and then I moved home in the pandemic because I just got my work visa actually for Nashville approved, and then I was like, oh, okay, now I'm 21, I got enough like I've been in Alberta long enough, got my experience. My whole goal was go to Alberta to move to Nashville, but like get a head start 18 till I'm 21 in the bars, get really good at like entertaining, learn more songs, and then move to Nashville when I'm old enough to play down here. So I was 21, just applied for my visa, and then I just got approved of it, and I was supposed to move April 1st, and then the pandemic hit March. They canceled all of our visas. So I packed up and drove back to PEI. So I spent a year and a half there, which is good for me, I think, because I never ever, like outside of high school, like really spent time PEI. It was really good for me. Just like I became like best friends with some of my cousins, which like I didn't even really know growing up because I was always in school and wrestling, and we became really close. And just like, yeah, being around my family a bit. And I wrote songs on Zoom every day because that just became the cool thing during the pandemic. Everybody was like I wrote like 2 songs a day sometimes. Just wake up, be on Zoom 11, be on Zoom at 3, another write. And then when it came time to record my last record, I had like 229 songs written. So I was like, oh, we got lots of songs to pick from, right? So it worked out good. And then I moved down to Nashville, in 2021. So it's been here 3 years now.
When you have 200 and something songs, how do you decide what to move forward with?
Yeah, it came down to like it's a big process. I send my whole catalog to like my producers, the guy producing it, months in advance. So like as they're driving, they can listen through. But I really like highlighted like 60 that I was like, okay, these are probably like
60
that I'm like, because there are some, you don't write a great song every time. Even the best songwriters in the world don't write a great song every day. But there was about 60. And then you kind of go into like an album and diversity, like, okay, well, you have a couple good ballads. Now you need a couple more high energy. So you can kind of narrow it down. And so it's a process. It took us quite a while. And it's funny. There's a song on my record called Fading that I did not want to record at all. My producers are both like, oh dude, you gotta record this song. Like, and I was like, hey, I'll trust you guys. Cause I had a lot of say in picking the song. So I was like, I'll trust you guys on it. And then when I sent my record out to like DSP, so like Spotify and Apple, like the people behind the scenes before the album came out, the guy at Apple, George, he like instantly was like, dude, Fading. Wow. That song gave me chills. So I was like, thank you, producers. Thanks. I'm glad I trusted you, because that like, he gave me crazy support with that song, and ended up getting like, almost 500,000 streams just on that song because he put it all over his playlist because he loved this, so stuff like that really, is a process picking those songs.
Yeah, I bet. And I mean, I guess that's why you involve yourself with producers, because they have the experience and they kind of know too what could hit and what has the best chance of hitting.
Yeah, and like when you're writing songs, you keep them very like dear to you. Like, you know what I mean? Or maybe like you wrote one song with one of your best buds and you think it's good, but it's actually not. So you need someone to be like, these ones are better, So it's good to like trust people and their opinion, because like it's something of yours you're showing people, regardless if it's something you wrote. So it's good to have like other people's opinions who's never heard it before. If they're like, oh, that's a good song or that's not, right? And I have like good friends in my life, like that are musicians and songwriters too, that like I trust them and they can send me songs or I'll send them songs, be like, yeah, that's good or that's not good. Like very honest, like good feedback. Like, and some of my country artist friends will send me songs because they know I just listen to country music. So like, would you like this? you know? So I'm like, yeah, or no, man, it's not my vibe.
Right. So what, like, walk me through the day in a life of a singer-songwriter. Like how does that work? Like, do you kind of work in seasons, I guess, like a touring season, a writing season, or how does that work?
Yeah, we're in like, so it's more like, cycles, like writing, like right now I'm in like a writing cycle. So like right now I'm like, personally right now I'm working on a lot of demos. Like I've just been doing demos at my house for the last like 2 days, and it's just all new songs so that we have like, cause we're just shaping my next step. I'm kind of in a nice spot right now where my debut album came out at the end of September. So we're just kind of like sitting back. I just signed a new management deal. So we're just like really looking at all my direction now. So it's nice to have a really good team and like a team with great experience behind me to really guide me on my next steps. So we're putting all my songs together that I had before. I don't have 229 like before. I probably got like.
So you're working on the next album right now?
Maybe not album, but like the next single or the next songs to show in meetings and stuff like that. That's kind of where we're at. Probably do like the albums take a lot of time, and it's different in Nashville. Like a lot of times you release a single here and there, see how people respond, So we're probably going to do like 2 or 3 songs coming up soon. But so what I do is on my own, I demo them up. So I sit on my computer, I track all the drums, track all the vocals, the guitars, mix it all, and then I send them off to my team. So I have 22 songs right now that I gotta have done by next Friday, and I got 3 done. But and that's like working like crazy. Like I'm not procrastinating. It's just they take a lot of time. So, but it's just because whenever you hear like someone just playing a song, like yeah, you get the vibe. But if you put the whole production behind it and they can hear the band and stuff, it makes it a lot easier to like be like, oh, that song hits or it doesn't, you know.
Right.
So we're just prepping that and picking the songs. Then I start writing again 2 weeks from last Monday. So like in like 2 weeks. Then all January, February, March, I'll just be writing Monday to Friday. Get up, get my day going. I like to get up early because I'm not creative. If I wake up at 10 and have to write at 11, my brain's still like foggy.
Right.
So like, yeah, I mean, as an athlete, I like to go and do some kind of workout or something before, just like get my body moving, get my mind rolling somehow. And then, or like even work on like take a guitar lesson in the morning online, whatever I can do to kind of get my brain working.
Yeah.
And then, we usually in Nashville, it's only 1 a day. There are some wild people like that will write like 3 songs every single day. But I'm an artist. Like if I was purely just a songwriter, it'd be different. You know, there's people here that have publishing deals that are like just here to write songs. They don't care about being an artist, right? They want to just have hits. So they'll book up like a 10 a.m., a 1 p.m., and a 4 p.m. And I don't understand how they do it because I spend 4 hours in a songwrite and I'm just like drained mentally, like in a good way, but like my creativeness is just like completely out. Like I poured it all into the song, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like, that's kind of typically how I roll my week is just writing songs and then summer comes around and I don't write in the summer. I'm like, I can't because I travel too much. It's like when I get 3 days off, I just want to enjoy them, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So in the summer, you're typically touring. When does that start?
This year we start in June. Yeah, sometimes it changes a bit. Like I have a couple one-offs this year. We're going out to Cape Breton in April. Never played in Cape Breton before. I was there on radio tour. My first ever radio tour in like 2019, but I've never played there. We're playing in Glace Bay,
Yeah.
at the Savoy Theater or something. We're out there with Brett Kissel. He's doing a tour, so we're opening for him. And so I get to go home to the East Coast, which would be fun.
Cool.
Check that out. But yeah, so it's just like the odd one off. But right now it's kind of in writing mode and being strategic and picking the songs and deciding how to put them out and who to put them out with and all that fun stuff. So
you released your album at the end of September, right? I believe.
Yeah.
So how much time do you kind of sit back and enjoy the fact that you just completed a massive project and then promoting that project and starting the next project? Like what is standard practice for a musician with that workflow?
Well, that's the nice thing about like where I'm at, because I do have like a bit of time like there. I don't feel rushed to put something else out because I'm like, I just did my record. And the crazy thing for me, and I know you're an entrepreneur yourself, but like, and not even trying to put my own tires, but I was self-managed for that whole thing for 4 years. So I put the whole project together, like decided like all the marketing, I decided the producers, I funded it all myself. I did everything, like hustled for like 4 years to make that happen. I put a whole tour together for myself after years. So as soon as my album came out, we went on tour the week after. We did Atlantic Canada, and we put that whole tour together. Like my band leader, Mike, and I did the whole thing, like booked every venue, promoted, talked to everybody, got everybody. Like it was, the amount of work was insane on the back end. So like whenever the tour was over, I literally just like was like, hey, I'm taking like November and December and just like, I didn't even write because I was like, there's no point in trying to get creative right now. I just kind of like practiced, hung out with my friends in Nashville and just kind of enjoyed a bit. But now it's kind of like there's no pressure. I'm in a good place, but it's just I got to be really strategic, which it's great having a powerhouse of a team behind me now for the next steps. So it'll definitely help. But it was a hustle for the last four years on that project. It was a 4-year project.
Yeah, that's
first song came out January 4th, 2019, and the record came out September 29th, 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah. Good for you, man. I'm happy for you. I didn't realize just how much grinding you were doing. And I think that I always like people that start directly at the bottom, do things themselves, learn how to do things themselves, because maybe you eventually someone else is booking your tour, for example, but how much work goes into it. How it works. And somebody isn't going to come take advantage of you because you've done it yourself,
Yeah.
right? So
And
you know how it rolls.
I love telling that to artists too. And I talk to like newer people. It's like, that's one thing, like when it came to like booking agents, I've had conversations throughout the years with booking agents, with managers, like multiple and multiple. But like my thing was, I often would think like, can this person do a better job than what I'm doing? And
Right.
it's like not in a bad way, but it's like, if they have 25 other acts, like, are they going to hustle for me like I am for myself, or like
Right.
my band leader Mike like how like my guys are doing for me? And it's like, not that they're bad at their job, but like, are they going to work as hard for me as I am right now?
Yep.
So yeah, I met with like a lot of managers and like agents and everything, but like it took like 4 years till I found someone who's like, okay, these guys can actually elevate me. Like we're in a spot where it'll work. But yeah, because I know what I want, and I know the qualities because I've learned it over the years,
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to booking shows, like I understand how it works now. I don't get excited when they're like, oh, you may play this festival. I'm like, I don't get excited until I see the contract because I know how it works.
Yep.
If they say, oh, these guys reached out, like I don't get excited until I see the contract, because I've had that lots of times. They're like, oh, do you want to play? But until my contract's signed, I'm not playing the festival, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good way to start and like really have to prove myself in that direction. But yeah, it definitely feels good, like knowing how that all works now, for sure.
And that comes with maturity and experience too, like not to get too high or not to get too low, because I've certainly been excited with the idea of opportunity. And like you said, if it doesn't materialize, it's essentially nothing, regardless of how excited you could have been or who said what, and to your point, like who's going to hustle the most for you, it's a fine line between being a control freak, and being a perfectionist, but also making sure things are done top tier and who's going to best serve you. Like in my world, there's so many parallels. In my world, that's like the equivalent of, let's say, sales reps. Okay. So if sales reps are repping 30 brands, am I a priority? I don't know, and if I'm not, that's not good. And it's like, who's going to push my product harder than me? Probably nobody else, right? Like that's my baby, right? So I'm going to sell it better and just naturally than anybody else. And I think that that's so similar to what you just described with the music industry, and you being the face of pushing it and making those calls. Because I mean, I'm sure if there was a radio station or a festival or someone on the fence about you, the fact that you're the one on the phone is probably going to give you some brownie points to say, you know what, okay, let's give this kid a chance, versus who's this random guy cold calling me representing somebody else. And, it's easier to say no to that guy.
Yeah. Or like, for example, like, I once was lucky that a person at radio had like hinted, not at me, but like at a group of people I was with, and was like, there's some people in this room at like a conference, there's some people in this room that like I see that, and like all these people are like paying for radio promotions, but like I'm getting an email every day from this guy. You guys are all paying thousands of dollars. Like it costs $3,000 to $5,000 saying you're on the radio, which a lot of people don't know. And they would just genuinely be like, yeah. And I get an email with, hey, have you thought about adding? And it's like a list of 15 people. That's it. And it's like, you guys are paying for that. And it's like, do I have time to like click on this and like look up every person and everything about them? Like, wouldn't you rather just like have one person representing you solely, and like that really believes in you, instead of being like, yeah, sure, I'll sing your song to radio people, like, and situations like that where it's like, or like having an agent who maybe like have too much. And I value guys like in the industry. There's a guy you probably know, Jim Cressman is. He has a podcast too. He's a very respected guy in the industry, but like we connect great, and like we've had conversations. He's like, I don't have like he can't take on other like booking client, like to book other clients, because like he's like, it's not fair to my other clients, and I can't take on that much of a workload. It wouldn't benefit either of us, And it's like, I respect people like that so much, where they like will like shoot you straight and not be like, oh, I'm going to take you on, but like, and like, just you can't there's radio reps I'd love to work with, but they're like, I can't take you on, like I only have my 2 clients, and I learned a lot of that through the years. But if I get on a phone call with somebody and like, I can't take you, like I just have too much and I got to be good to my clients, I respect them so much because of that. I'm like, you believe in the people you work with, and you're not saying no to me because you don't believe in me. You're just like, I need to put my focus in the people I work with right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I respect that too, because it'd be too easy for managers to just try to gobble up all the available clients. But then, as we know, as you're spread that thin, you can't give the proper time and energy to those clients. because I'm sure from a manager's perspective, they're thinking who's going to be the next, right? Who's the next? So, let's put all these names down on my client list so that I can ride the wave of whoever pops next. So I think it is honorable for people to say, no, like this is my ride or die group. This is the team I'm going to war with. And I don't want to just, get everybody on my list hoping that somebody pops off so I can appear and get some credit out of it,
Yeah, and it makes a big difference too when they like really believe in you, because whoever's gonna go and have conversations with people about you, whoever that middleman is or your rep, like they need to champion you. It's got to be someone who's like an actual fan and really thinks like if the industry will bite on this person and give them a chance and put them in positions, they will take off,
Right.
But it's like it's really good to have someone who'll champion you in those positions because like if they're not really a fan of you and they're only there really for the money, it's like they're not going to do a great job,
Right. Yeah. So do you have a pretty good kind of vetting filter now when you meet people and you kind of know what their intentions are and what types of people they are? Like I know in Nashville, there's so many personalities. Everyone's trying to make it. Everyone's trying to get famous, trying to get rich, trying to get popular. Like, do you have a good filter for that stuff now?
I'd like picking it up. You mean like I'm picking up on people or?
Yeah. Like if someone comes over to you, like, is it pretty easy to tell who's trying to take advantage or who is like a genuine supporter and fan of yours?
Yeah, I can pick that up. Yeah, you can really pick it up. I find I'm really good at reading people, I guess, but
Yeah.
I've always been thankfully good at that and just like feeling out people's intentions and my like close personal friends. Like I'm really blessed to have like a really good group of supportive friends and some of them are musicians, some of them are not. And it's just like, I'm just like, yeah, I keep my bubble pretty small, but like in Nashville, you meet so many people and like it's part of the thing living here. You go out to the Red Door to Network. It's like the bar to go, but you also just also meet people there every night. You'll be there the next day, you maybe meet somebody, be like, oh, let's write tomorrow morning. Sure, let's do it. I'm off too,
Yeah.
So it's an interesting town for that. And I love meeting people. It's all obviously there's so many, every time I go out now, I'll run like 20 people I know because I've been here for so long. Right. And it's good. It's but yeah, you definitely like quickly can like pick up on like where someone's at or if they're actually, you have a lot of people who are like faking it to make it, like, oh, I did this, and it's interesting for sure. You meet a lot of interesting humans out here for sure.
Did you get like coming from the East Coast and us being known for being polite and generous and all those things? Like, did you find your kindness was taken advantage of? Like, have you ever been burned by that, or were you ever naive coming from like a small town going to a big city that's a little bit more competitive and things? Like, did you have any bad experiences with that?
Personally, I don't think so. And it may be like I attribute a lot of like what I've done to like the fact that I was such a high competitive wrestler when I was a kid. So like I love a good healthy competition. So
Okay.
like one of my best friends in the whole planet, his name is Devin Cooper. He's a great artist from Calgary. He's one of my like best buds. But it's like it's great healthy competition. We're both like pushing each other to keep crushing it because like we sound nothing alike. Like
Right.
our fan bases are totally different, but we're both technically country, right? But we have such a healthy like friendship, you know what I mean? Where it's like we're encouraging each other. We're not scared to like share each other's stuff, but it's like we're still technically both artists. Like we're still both a business trying to do better than we're still technically in competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I don't know, with me, I love like I have the mentality that like iron sharpens iron, right? Like I never could have wrestled in the Olympics or like went to like try like I never could have like tried to become an Olympian if I stayed on PEI. I would have had to go to like a huge wrestling school where I was surrounded by so many great wrestlers in the practice room, right? So like I find like being here, I'm surrounded by like so many great people that like it motivates me. For example, like some people like they're usually surprised when I tell them this, but like I take vocal lessons every week and I take guitar lessons every week. My grandpa's like, you take guitar lessons? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're such a good player. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not the greatest. There's never an end. And like when I'm surrounded by these people, I'm like, I always see people who can sing better than me or can sing or play guitar better than me. Like that's normal in Nashville. There's never the best of the best. You know what I mean? There's so many people and it just motivates me like being around those people. I'm just like, oh man. So I have a vocal coach. I go see her every week now. And it's like, it's not cheap, but it's like, it's part of like making myself better because I'm like, I see the competition around me and I'm like, when I get in those positions, I want to stand out. Right. So I love a good healthy competition. It just motivates me as a person. That's kind of what pushes me a lot just to keep working harder.
Well, in the athletic world, like those guys are always trying to get better. And in my hockey days and business days, like I'm investing in a lot of time into reading business books and studying people that I aspire to be. And the one common denominator is they are always trying to get better. It doesn't matter how big and successful or how far they've made it or how rich they are or how many businesses they've started or, what players made it to the NHL. The ones that stay are the ones that are just constantly trying to get better. Right? It never ends.
And the best thing you can invest in is yourself too, right? It's like, especially like in the music industry, like this year, big, like I just told you that I was working on demos here. Like I did not know how to do that a year ago. I hired someone by the hour to teach me personally, a producer who doesn't, to sit down with me and teach me and then critique my work and help me get better and better at it. Because I know it's a really big skill in Nashville. If you go into a writing session, then afterwards you're like, oh, here's the demo. People are like, damn, nice, man. Because most people can't do that. And I'm like, that's a skill I want to learn. So yeah, instead of, going right for a demo down here is about $600 if you want someone to demo a song. So instead of like spending $600, why don't I hire someone like for $50 an hour for 20 hours for the price of 4, and then I can do them all myself afterwards. So it's like I'll invest in myself instead of paying somebody else to do it. I'll learn how to do it. And and that's the same as like when it comes to singing or guitar playing. I'm like, yeah, maybe one day I can cut a guitar player for my band because I'll be so good I won't need to have to,
So a demo, I'm still learning with this stuff. Like a demo would be, you would you'd do the vocals, you'd play with guitar, and then the other instruments would be like automated, or how does that work?
Kind of, yeah. I'm a bass player, so I play like all the bass too, but like drums are in a demo, drums are mostly automated or just like that sound you hear on a demo. It's not it's not real drums. Even on like, you'd be surprised, man. Like I won't say any names, but there's like one of my friends has a couple number ones in Canada, and the drums are all fake on his track. Like they're all literally done through a program. There's not one real drum on there. It's just his producer is insanely good at the program he uses to make them sound like real drums. He's been doing it for like 30 years. He's like, why would I hire a drummer when I can just use this program? It sounds just as good. And the mics are like, the programs you use in your computer are made with like, the mics are worth like 10 grand. Like they're like made in the best of the best studios in the world, the samples, right? So if you know what you're doing, you can really get good sounds. But yeah, the demo is basically just like, it's just to hear the song with the rhythm, the beat, really a clear version of it. And then that's usually what we send around, whether like if I have a song and I'm like, oh, Luke Combs would sound good singing this, I would send it through a publisher to Luke Combs' team. And then they would send the demo, though. They don't want to just hear like you singing it on an acoustic,
Right. Okay. So do you, I mean, if that's the case, you have to have a good understanding of each instrument.
Big time, yeah.
Do you ever get insecure that you're like, shit, I'm not really a drum guy, but I have to like choose the drum sound? Like, do you ever worry about that, or are you just kind of so used to it?
Sometimes, but I'm a big music geek. So like when it comes to like music side of things, because I grew up like playing like music so much in the East Coast style, and then I messed around with like bluegrass stuff and gospel stuff growing up as a kid, that like I'm very musically trained. And then like I play bass, so I really understand like what's called kick patterns. So the kick drum and the bass drum are supposed to be going at the same time. So I can really build, and I've played in bands for like 8 years. So I kind of really know dynamically what should be played where. Okay. So I have that advantage, but if I didn't have like 8 years of live full band experience, it wouldn't be easy to learn. Like I'm very lucky that like I had a lot of time learning all that before. Now I can just basically apply it. I'm slower at applying it, but in a couple of years, I'll probably just be like, and it'll be done.
Yeah.
But I know what needs to be there. I just have to learn how to put it in right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that all comes with the experience.
Yeah. But it's crazy. Like if I'm like pitching a song to an artist, because I have cuts from other artists. Like I don't just write for myself, I write for other people too. And if I'm sending them a song, or someone's like, hey, do you have some songs? I'm going in the studio looking for songs. If I send them a demo, it'd be usually like, oh, they always like the demo song better than just an acoustic and a vocal song, right?
So how do you decide if you want to give a song to somebody else?
Well, and it's like an unwritten thing around here, but we have like our A, B, and C catalog. So our A's is like I have like 4 songs right now that when I get what's called a publishing deal, uh, which like it's like you're just a song. You have a salary job as a songwriter. Your publisher will pitch your songs to like Luke Combs or Carrie Underwood, whatever. If you want to send a song, Morgan Wallen, they'll take it, and they have that's their job. Is like they have the connection. A publisher has a connection to reach out to their team, or they get notification that, oh, Morgan Wallen's going to the studio. We're looking for love songs for him. Then the publisher would be like, hey, do you guys have any love songs we can send? They have a big list to listen through after that, right? Because those guys they don't have time to write all their own songs. They tour like crazy, right?
Yep.
And they'll take the best song wins all time. Anyway, so that's like a process. So I have like my A-level songs that I would use. Like I won't send them around personally. Everybody, and everyone has those songs where they're like, I won't send those, or I won't really send those to anybody. I'm going to wait until the day that an opportunity comes up. So I only have 6 of those that I'm like, I feel like that could be a number one. And you got to be honest about your work, right? Like there's some songs I have that I'm like, oh, they're really good songs, but I only have about 6 and I'm like, I think those would be a number one if Morgan Wallen cut it or Luke Combs cut it. So I'm going to hold them till the opportunity arises, right? And then we have like our B songs, which is like, or sometimes I'll cut my own A songs if I'm like, oh, that's a big me song, I could blow that up, right? Then we have like our B songs, which is like, if it's an artist I really believe in, you know what I mean? And then usually there's C songs that are just like, I don't think they'll ever get cut, but I'll just throw them. Like you never write a good song all the time, right? Yeah. So my B songs, like usually when friends or artists I believe in are like looking for a good song, I have lots of good songs. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll send you guys. They're well written, professionally written. The verses line up with the chorus, and like it's written professionally. It's not just like the song. It's written professionally, and it's the hook hits everything about it. And then like I'll throw some what I think are season. I've had in times before where people have picked the C. Like I just put it in so they'll have like 20 songs to pick from, and I'll throw some B's and C's in there, and they're like, oh, we want that song. I'm like, oh, I never thought that would get cut, but sure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So how's a guy like Zach Bryan do it? That's on tour. He's recording his own stuff, and then he's writing.
I wonder. He writes by himself a lot, which is impressive, though. Yeah. Another guy might impress you too is, did you know Dean Brody writes like a lot of his stuff by himself? And like,
does he? I didn't know that.
His songs are so crafted. That's one Canadian artist, man. I think he's like one of the best songwriters. Like his songs, like Another Man's Gold or like Brothers, like and he writes like, it's crazy to see he'll write like that stuff by himself. I'm like, I have to be with like, not saying I'm not a great songwriter, but like I'm a songwriter. I know how a song works, but like I'm in a room with usually me and somebody else, and sometimes 3 of us to make it craft perfectly where like the hook hits and it makes sense with the verses. But like they write the songs like geniusly, and it's just like, oh, Justine Brody. Wow, it's very impressive.
And a lot of people wouldn't even know that. Like I didn't know that. A common fan wouldn't know that.
Yeah, like, and a lot of common fans sometimes don't even know that like Morgan Wallen doesn't write all of his own songs too. Like some people just don't know that, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just, the industry is its own little thing, and it's great for us as songwriters because like, I have some, people in town here, like I said, just here to write songs, and they're like, biggest goal in life is to get a Morgan Wallen cut,
Right.
And it's like, that's what they work hard for. So it's good that like those guys are still, they do write. They'll take guys out on tour with them and write songs, but they're like, if the incredible song comes in, they're going to take it. Right.
Yeah. So if you're recording like say 20 songs for an album, how much time is that actually in the studio, like recording?
If it was 20 songs, like I did a 10-song album. My album is 20 songs, which is actually, is a marketing guy. You may appreciate this. So as I told you that we, like I did like my whole album, marketed everything by myself beforehand. Yeah. So I was recording my first album in Calgary and with Maddie McKay in Calgary at OCL Studios. And then again, when the pandemic hit, we still had 4 songs we didn't get to finish. So we had 9 songs done, but we were going to do a 13-song record. So we never got to finish that when I moved to Nashville. So I went into the studio here and we picked the songs. I was like, I need to do my debut record. I still haven't done it. So we picked the songs, and one of the songs we picked was called That Was Then, This Is Now. And then when I was trying to pick the song or the title, I was like, oh man, I never, like all the first songs that kind of got me where I was when I was in Alberta and got me a lot of slots and got me a lot of awards. They weren't going to be on this album because I recorded in Nashville, but then I was like, That Was Then, This Is Now. Well, why don't I do side then and side now and put them all on a record? So I recorded 11 songs down here, and I had 9 already done that were already out from Calgary. So I put side then and side now. That was then, this is now. So it's actually a double album. And I just came up with that idea because I was like, hey, well, that song's on the record. That'd be a cool title. So I talked to Maddie, and he was amped. He's like, yeah, like I always want to do your debut record, and we were bummed out we didn't get to finish it. So he's like, yeah, hell yeah, put the songs on. So they all made it on there, and we had a 20-song record to come off the top, which is a really cool way to do it. But that was only 11 songs. And that, we do like probably three songs every 2 hours. Like it took us about 2 days of tracking all the instruments. So yeah, probably like 5-6 songs a day. And then you usually just do one song with vocals a day because it's so hard in the voice. So like I would go in like Monday and Thursday, usually because like you need to give your voice a little bit of time to like unswell. So yeah, so I would go in like Monday, record vocals, go back home, Tuesday, Wednesday, go back out Thursday until I had all 11 songs done. Yeah.
I love the concept, by the way, that you did a load of it that got you started in Canada and then a load of it in Nashville, and you combine the two with that name. That is genius marketing. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool. And like, yeah. And it's like in order, like it starts with side then, and then it turns into side now. Yeah. So yeah.
Especially for a debut album, because it's like, this is what put me on. This is like my life's work to date. This is how I got started, and this is where I am now. Yeah, no, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, every song I've ever put out was on that record. And yeah, it was really cool. It's cool how that all came together. Like I didn't know that song was going to make the record, and they all really liked it. And I was like, cool. And then I was like, this is a cool way to do a double album. So it worked out great.
And when you're recording, like how much of a given song do you sing before a cut? Like, do you sing a whole verse and then they cut it and that's the recorded verse, or do you sing line by line, or do you sing the whole song, or how's that work?
Everyone has everyone has a bit of a different vocal recording process. The guys I work with, the way that, even singers themselves, sometimes they have their own preference, like the way they like to record vocals. The way I like and the way that my producer on this record did it, we would go in and we would just sing like the verse down, like so verse 1, sing it down, like give it like 10 good takes, and then he can like pick the best take. And then we'll do verse 2 because the choruses are usually higher, right? So you're singing the verses to warm up. Okay. So you sing verse 1 and then verse 2 and then the bridge. And then usually you'll cut the chorus because it's the big high part. So you don't want to blow your voice out before you go into verse 2. So we just do like the lower parts, and then we get all the big pushy parts at the end, and all the big, the big high notes and everything at the end of it.
Strain your voice right before you go home.
Right. Yeah, literally. So
do you use like a similar format where it's like verse, bridge, chorus, and then you're done, or like or does every song a little different?
Every song's a little different, but like that's the standard in country. Like when we're writing, we're usually like, some songs will start with a chorus or whatever. Some songs don't have a bridge. Some songs don't even. I wrote a song the other day that didn't even have a chorus. It's like it just doesn't feel like it needs a chorus, and we just kept writing verses. It was like a story song. Yeah.
Wow.
Like it's just like a long story song, right? So yeah, you never really know.
As a listener, like I'm a music lover, and I always look forward to the bridge. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like the climax of a song or what, but typically the bridge always feels like the most exciting to me.
Yeah, and like really good songwriters are like really good at making everything just like turn in the bridge, like whoa, you know, really make you think about it. So
yeah. Oh, that's cool. So big difference between Alberta country and Nashville country?
Yeah, I mean, the city revolves around Nashville country, where Alberta revolves around its oil field and stuff, right? Yeah. But like being in Nashville, it just it's good. Like we have we have the CCMA awards, which everybody knows in Canada, but the CCMAs actually in general is like a conference weekend that we go to from like Thursday to Sunday. So the whole industry, if it's in Toronto that year, we all go. There's showcases like they put the award show on TV, but all throughout the week, like the weekend, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there's a gala. There's you have meetings. You go out to like the booking agencies or the labels will host like private parties where everybody gets invited. You're networking. So I often tell people, Nashville just feels like you're at the CCMAs every day.
Right, because you're networking constantly. Everyone's talented around you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if I go out to the bar, I'm gonna meet people, like same as CCMAs, like you're staying at your hotel and you just go downstairs to like where somebody's playing and it's full of songwriters and
Right.
industry people. The nice thing about here is there's a lot more industry, like more than just artists. You know what I mean? And so I really
Mhm.
like that. So like I network with a lot of like, songwriters or publishers or booking agents. There's so many like labels, there's so many booking agencies here. So it's like you never know what somebody does. Like when they say they're in the music industry, there's musicians, there's tour managers, there's
Yep.
so many things you never know what you're gonna meet because this is like the mecca of the whole, like this runs all country music here in Nashville,
Yep.
right?
Environment's so important. Like, I love my town. I love this place. It's my home. But if I go get a coffee at Tim Hortons, I'm not going to brush shoulders with the next great big opportunity, where I feel
Yeah.
like in Nashville, especially for the music world, like you might be getting a coffee and bump into somebody and all of a sudden it changes the course of your career,
Yo, crazy, man. Like there's people that, yeah, that's literally it. Like everybody you meet, you meet somehow. And like, yeah, in Nashville, like most of the people that I met are like the people that like, even the guy like manages me now, Cam, like when I met him, it was literally, we're just at the bar drinking with some friends and I just met him. And now like we work, like he runs my career,
Right.
and it's like, it's crazy. Like you just don't never know when you're going to like meet that person that could like actually change your career or like do it, you may write a hit song with them. You never know. You never know when you're going to meet
Yep.
somebody like that. Yeah. Especially in my industry, it's a really good place to be. So yeah. And like same here. I love my hometown. I love PEI in the summer. I have an end goal that like when I settle down, decide to have kids, I want to like have like a summer property in PEI
Nice.
because it's so nice out there, man. And like,
Yep.
I would love to have like a couple of cabins and do like songwriter retreats out there, invite some of my Nashville buddies up, go golf and eat seafood.
I got the cabins, man. You guys can come stay.
Yeah. You're
yeah,
right. Should do a songwriter retreat there.
absolutely.
But I'd like to do that and just like whenever, because all the summer is just getting on airplanes and going home. So like it'd be great if I was just like, okay, somewhere near Charlottetown Airport, fly out, play my festivals, come home all the time. So that's kind of like an end goal of mine. So I love PEI, but same thing. It's just like right now, being like a guy in my mid 20s is like I need to be around every opportunity I can,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
I think you got it exactly right, man. Like I think you're doing it right, and I think you're doing it really well. I have a similar goal too. Like the place I have now, it's my house, but it was built as a cottage, and it's 1,200 square feet. Like it's not massive. I wouldn't raise a family there, and I view it as a hopeful cottage one day. It's on the water and stuff. It's nice, and it's perfect for me right now that I'm single with no kids. But hopefully it'll be a cottage one day, and similar to yourself, I would like to spend a lot of my time and work time elsewhere, and I see Nashville as such a great hub for country liberty. I want to spend, I want to get an apartment in Nashville and split maybe, 5 to 6 months a year in Nashville, 5 to 6 months a year in New Brunswick. And
and then
roll
it's
like
nice, and the thought of like having a cottage back home and it's great. Spend time around family. And like when I'm home, it's funny. I was just home over Christmas and I took all my gear so I can keep catching. I have so much demos to catch up on right now. So I was like, I'll take my stuff home and pick at it, but not in a bad way, but I just have a hard time to stay motivated, like to get in the grind when I'm there. And it's just like, maybe it's because like I'm not surrounded by like the Nashville flair where everyone's hustling, but like, and like, cause I want to go visit with family and stuff when I'm home. I don't want to be stuck on the computer all day working,
Yeah.
but like I have a hard time to work hard when I'm there. It's weird. Like I get on like what I call terrible island time. It's like, it's great. And like, I want to spend my summers there whenever I'm like flying out the shows and just like coming home for 2 days, just to lay there and be lazy and relax. Like there's nothing wrong with that lifestyle. Like my grandparents are having the greatest retirement you could ask for. Nothing ever changes. There's no stress. They just see their family and go home and love retirement. Right. And, it's a great place to like retire and stuff. But like, when you said that, I was like, when I'm working, I want to be like in a, surrounded by like high achieving people and just like in that environment where it just motivates me. It's still got a lot of work to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that laid backness. And for someone that lives in that laid back culture 12 months a year, it really takes a lot of self-motivation to keep at it, to keep working and things like that. And I've mastered kind of being independent and just operating and setting goalposts for myself instead of, looking at peers and, cause it's me against me. I find, especially it's a
Big
little
time.
isolating, honestly, being in a small town, being an entrepreneur and doing something so, unconventional. So it takes a lot of self-motivation. Personally, I look forward to going to Nashville and being surrounded by hungry, ambitious people that are
You leave
after it,
like
that hustle, like you
motivated.
mentioned,
Yeah.
that hustle culture. Like I look forward to that, man. I love that. I get inspired by that, and I crave that. I crave that.
Yeah, I think that's like, and I mean, good thing for like these days is like you still have things like online to rely on. Thankfully, we're in that era,
Yep.
And but like, yeah, I definitely can see how it could like, get but when you leave here and you'd be like, well, when I didn't live in Nashville, I would leave and I was like, oh, I need to like live there. I need to get home, work hard. Like it's always a good thing. But yeah, it's good you're able to like master that because I can't. I just can't get in the mindset when I'm out there. But that's why I was like, I just can't live there right now. Personally, like and that's like part of my, when you say me against me, that's like same thing as my own mentality. Why I'm always trying to learn new skills, why I'm taking lessons at all this stuff all the time is because I did individual sport growing up, I was a very disciplined individual and I could, I would get my butt kicked if I didn't train hard and do the extra lap all the time. And
Right.
yeah, I really held on to that as a kid. So it really helps me just like, stay motivated in those situations. But I like PEI for like a nice downtime for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming out for Cavendish, I'm going to be nice and laying on the beach a couple days before, chilling out for sure.
I love that, man. We'll be there. See, that's like my hectic time. My God, I almost burned out last year. We did Cavendish, which is a huge, like a lot of work before the event, crazy amount of work during the event. And I was foolish and I booked a ticket at the Feck concert in Quebec City. So I left Cavendish at like on like no sleep at like 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Drove all the way to Quebec City, watched Zach Bryan perform in front of like 100,000 people at Feck, and then had to drive all the way back because the Cavendish, like Whitecap hosted SOMO the next weekend,
right?
Which is Maggie Rogers, Mumford and Son. So I was a part of that. So I went from Cavendish, pre-Cavendish to Cavendish to Feck to pre-SOMO to SOMO to post-SOMO.
Wow.
And man, I was like exhausted. And honestly, I thought of the musicians. Like I know obviously they're not doing all those, but I look at how frequent some of these artists are on tour. 2 days rest, 1 day rest, 2 days rest, 1 day rest. And they're playing and traveling and all that at the same time. And it's just exhausting realizing, how often those guys do that. And I got a taste of that, I guess, last summer.
Yeah. It's like to learn how to do a rest day. I had to really learn this year too. It's just like how to like shut your mind off. Like as a guy who wants to be working all the time, I had to learn to like not how to teach myself to like chill, man, and like take a day to relax. Cause like, last time we played Cavendish, we played 2019 as well, the year my first single came out. We played the next day at Calgary Stampede. So we played like same thing. We played Cavendish. It's like exciting. Everyone's home. Like everyone from back home was there to watch. And then like our flight out was out of Charlottetown at 5 a.m. because we had to we landed in Calgary at 10 and played at 4 that afternoon. So it's like, I'm like, I want to see everybody, but then also I need to go to bed. So I get to bed. I'm tired. I'm on an airplane. I'm waking up and I got to get on stage. And a hard thing about a singer too is like, and like, it's one thing I like think about a lot. Is like, I'm lucky. I went through a bit of a learning phase with like mental health and stuff when I was younger. But like one thing about being an artist, man, you always got to be on when you're on stage too. If you're tired, if you're, you're about to go on stage and you find out like you get really bad news or like whatever, you're up there and you have to put on a face like you're if you don't, like you can't get up there and be like, I hate my life, like
right
or oh no, I'm so sad. Like you gotta get up there and put on a face and have like, can't be tired and cranky, like whatever you're faced with, you have to go on there and give it your all. And there's so many people watching you, right? So that's one thing too. It's like it's a hard thing for artists. You think about like barely getting any sleep and having to get up and like in front of thousands of people. It's crazy to think what they do.
And it's easy to get burned out when you do that on repeat. If you're having no sleep and you slide into like a sleep debt where it's like, okay, one night I can survive, 2 nights, 3, 4, 5, all of a sudden I'm burned out, right? If you keep that pattern going.
Big time.
So I actually asked Allie about that, like, Allie Walker last time, because she was on the pod and we spoke here recently. And I talked about that. Like, is it ever hard to just kind of get your like psych yourself up for that, you know, like, because obviously you could be nervous. I don't know if you're someone that gets nervous, but I mean, there's that possibility. Like you said, you could get bad news. You know, the pressure of thousands of people are sitting there waiting patiently or impatiently. A lot of them are drunk. A lot of them could be rowdy. Like walk me through that, like the preparation of getting on stage and psyching yourself up for that.
Yeah, I think like, yeah, I've only been in a couple situations where like I've been like, okay, I gotta like amp myself up right now before I get on. But yeah, I think it's just like to get in your mind, like I get to do this every time I go out there. It's like not I got to do this, like the I
Okay.
get to do this, you know, not I gotta go up and sing, like I get to get on stage and do this for people. And I'm lucky. There's people who would give anything. Like there's so many people that sing in their bathtub and wish they could be rock stars. You know, I'm lucky that I get to do this for a living
Yep.
and to keep that mindset in those situations, it's like, you know, I got granted this opportunity and I just gotta like keep it in my head and give it, you know, deliver a show like it should. And there's a lot of pressure in those moments, like if you're not feeling it, you know. We had a time this year actually that one of my bass players, we were getting ready to go on stage and like he got like word that one of his buddies just gotten like a little plane crash. Like it wasn't like it was like one of those little planes and like he's
Okay.
like getting ready to go on stage to play a show and he just heard like one of his buddies had passed away and it's like
Oh man.
you know what I mean? Like situations like that, and like the whole band, obviously, we're gonna come together and try to comfort him. And you
Yep.
know, in those times, you know, a band thing would be like, all right, we're gonna do it for so and so, like do
Yep.
the show for him, and let's you know stay strong as a group for him. And it's a good thing is having a good band of brothers, man. Like I have like I'm really blessed to have like a really good group of guys that tour with me. Like they're like my best buds, and I struggled with that for years. I had like a lot of switching in and out players. And then last year, a guy named Michael Lloyd from Halifax took over my band as my band leader. And pretty soon after, he hired a guy named Matt Muse on drums. And Matt and Mike have become like two of my best friends on top of being like in my band. So
Mm-hmm.
when we tour together and we're spending a lot of times, you know, if Mike's having a bad day, we'll pull him up. If Matt's having a bad day, we'll pull him up. They know me well enough now. If I'm having a bad day, they know how to motivate me. And same, we have a guy named Jesse, our bass player. Guy doesn't drink. He's like he's like the most high energy guy you'll ever see, and it's wild because he doesn't like it's like you'll be like at a bar playing a show and he's like dancing with people
So
afterwards, like
dead
wait,
sober.
and he's dead sober. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. We were playing a drinking game after one of the shows on our tour afterwards. We were back at the Airbnb and it was like 2:30 in the morning and I was with like Riley Taylor, a buddy from New Brunswick, and
Yeah, I know
we're all
Riley.
sitting around drinking some beers and just hanging out before we go to bed. And our bass player's like, I think we were playing like whatever, like flip cup or beer pong. Oh no, we were playing ride the bus, and so you got to take a
Classic.
drink every time. And he's like, "Well, I'll play with Red Bull because if that's what he did, he played with Red Bull so he wouldn't get asleep if he messes up." So it's just funny, but having a good group of people around you too just helps like motivate you in those situations too, right? Like
Yeah.
I've been dealing with a little bit of vocal issues, not like nothing serious, just like one like I've been dealing with a lot of swelling and going to the doctor and trying to figure out like am I singing technically wrong, like what is causing this, you know. And when we were out on tour this year, like there's a day where I was like I can't even barely sing, and like my band was like help, they were there to like really help amp me up because it's hard to get excited and like feel confident when you're like I'm only at 50% right now,
Yeah,
but
totally.
like they all make me feel better. And yeah, so having a good group of people around you definitely makes a big difference too, you know, in those situations.
Yeah. Oh, good. And it kind of reminds me, like I think it was Oshie in the NHL. His father passed away, and then he went and scored like a hat trick or whatever. And
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, like sometimes it takes that brotherhood, like you mentioned, whether it's sport or whether it's band, you know, and sometimes it takes that. Um, it's hard to get up and do it, but it's kind of the best thing for you therapeutically that you're playing your music, you're playing the show because that's what you love to do. And yes, you know, maybe your friend just passed or maybe you just had that hardship. That's not going to change. You know, if you skip the show, you still lost that person. It's very sad. But sometimes playing that show or playing that hockey game and just getting it out and doing your thing and doing what you love is kind of the best thing for you in those
Yeah.
times of hardship, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to like, you know, in anything, like whether it's a show or anything, if I'm like dealing with something, like I know personally I need to go do something. I can't sit home. I'll think and get in my own head. I'm like, no.
Yep.
And I've learned that throughout the years. So I'm like, yeah, if there's something that's bothering me, I'm like, I'll text some friends, be like, yo, you guys want to go out to Red Door or go do something, like just get my mind off it. I'm not
Always
gonna,
red door. Always red door.
I'm not going to sit home and just get my mind thinking and overthinking stuff.
Yeah.
Just like, let's just go tear it up. Let's go do something. You know,
Yeah.
It's good to keep your mind busy. I don't know. I think I've learned my mind anyway. Especially I'm like, I always need to keep it. I can't let it settle. Like I got to keep the grind going. So
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. And it's funny, like we're raised to work hard and, put in an honest day's work and grind. And then all of a sudden, guys like you and me, we get to a point in our career where we're like, geez, wait, I need to learn how to slow down. I need to learn how to relax. I need to learn how to unplug, because we're programmed, go, and it's a weird thing.
It's hard. I can't even go without like my computer, like even on vacation. Like I don't even want to, like, what if I miss something? Like, stuff like that. And I always get in my own head about it. But I'm like, I got to learn how to take a break. So I'm going to go to Florida in March this year with my family. So I'm like, I might not even take my computer, like let people know in advance I'm out of office.
Yeah. No, you should. Like when I started my business, I didn't take a single vacation until last February. I went to Costa Rica, 10-day thing. I brought a book bag with I think it was 4 t-shirts, 1 pair of shorts, 2 pairs of trunks, and like my toiletry bag. Like it was like nothing. I left my computer. I brought my phone, but like the service, you couldn't work there even if you wanted to. It's the Wi-Fi and the service and stuff. And when I got back from that trip, I said, I need to prioritize this every year. And really the only difference between that, because I had the same separation anxiety. I need my computer. What if an emergency happens? What if typically those things don't happen, right? That's just us overthinking. And also if you prepare in advance, like you said, you're going to tell people you're out of office. If you set your boundaries and stick with them, with the people that you're working with and around, but you also prepare your work in a way that you could take a full week or 2 off and it's not going to cause any problems. Obviously, you're not going to take the week off right before your album drops. Yeah. But, if you can strategically plan it in a way that it's like, okay, here's a week that I could take off. I'm going to prepare my work in a way that when I go away for a week, no problems will occur. Everything's proactively finished and organized. I'm good. I think that was something I learned last year. And I think that that's really critical. And I think that rest is critical too. I think everyone should prioritize it, whether it be a vacation or a staycation or just a week or so a year that you just truly unplug,
Yeah. I think it'd be good to maybe even when I'm spending time, I have like an email that replies, I'm on island time. Sorry.
Exactly. I love
Chilling
that.
on the island.
Yeah. So is your long-term goal would be to tour across Canada, tour across the US? Like what's your kind of goal there?
My goal has always been the US. And that's why I always wanted to live in Nashville, which is awesome. Like I love Canada. I'm proud to be a Canadian, but I'm really excited right now. Like the management company I just signed with is all US based. They work with so many big US acts throughout the years. So they're very familiar with the US industry and the markets down here. So it's going to be really good for me as a, so I still want to tour in Canada and stuff. And, there's a lot of Canadian artists who play down here and they do both. Right. So instead of just being north of the border, I've always wanted to live in Nashville. So it's my goal is to do both. Yeah. It's a lot bigger markets down here. Like you're 10 times in your population when you come down here. Right. So it's like, and country music is just as it's more popular in America than it is really, especially in the South. Right. Yeah. Like country is dominant here. And there's we have about 7 major festivals in Canada when it comes to country, like Cavendish being one. We have all the Country Thunders. There's only about 7 major that can bring in the Luke Combs and those big guys, right? Down here, there's 80 to 100 easily, So if you play 3 or 4 of those a year, there's so many you can play. So it's if you can break into the US market. So that's where I want to be. And that's where our focus is insanely right now is on building a team all out of Nashville, but still focusing on Canada, keeping those relationships. But right now we're really going to push my next stuff in the States.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I won't take up any more of your time. I appreciate your time hanging out here with me. You provided some really cool insight. People are going to like to hear this and hear the details of, what goes on to someone that's doing what you do. Where can everybody find you? Where can they find your music, your socials? What are your handles, things like that?
Yeah, they can find me under, well, Ben Chase. It's short and sweet like me, easy to remember.
Short and sweet like you. I love that.
Yeah, Ben Chase. Yeah, and I'm always super active on socials, but there's no other country singer with the name Ben Chase. So if you search me up, you'll find me.
Cool. So Ben Chase, and your music's on all the major platforms.
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. That album we talked about, that was in This Is Now. It's
Yep.
still kind of new, so check it out.
Cool. Awesome, man. I really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot for
Hey, man.
for
Good
hanging out.
We'll see you when you're in Nashville.
That's right, buddy. Cool.
The Sawyer Hannay Show.